Hey there. So, we're going to talk about a different chojin this time around. We're going to talk about Brocken Jr., which is a fan favorite, if I'm not mistaken. But I will say, just forewarning, there is a bit of controversial topics within this video. I will have a timestamp for it. I won't take up much of the video to talk about it. But there is a bit of historical controversy that is going to be talked about with Brocken's character, specifically his design. For those who know, haha. But yeah, so if you're not interested, you either can skip the video, you can skip to the section, I'll have it timestamped. But yeah, let's get into it. All right, so who is Brocken Jr.? So for those who don't know, he is a German chojin who joined the Justice team as an idle chojin after initially showing up as a brutal chojin because he was trying to avenge the murder of his father, Brocken. Brocken's often considered one of the younger chojins by other chojins. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he might be the second youngest idle chojin, which leads to a lot of other chojins kind of making comments about him about him being impulsive and inexperienced, which leads him to then react impulsively, ironically. Which is funny because his personality was very similar to his dad's. At the start of his appearance, he was very cold and brutal, much to the namesake of being a brutal chojin at first. But later on, he becomes a lot more respectful and loyal and a very morally strong character, if you ask me. Which is helped accompanied by the fact that he has a couple of mentors in the series, namely being Ramen Man, who is another idol chojin, as well as Kinniku's brother Ataru, who is more so known as Soldier Man, who he had joined his team called the Blood Oath Brigade because they're just some metal dudes, all in order to help Soldier Man at the time fight in the matches for the Throne arc. So needless to say, it kind of is a pro and a con of being, I guess, an inexperienced chojin because it resulted in him making some really important connections that help form his character. And you'll see a lot of that in the last 2 episodes of the anime that have been aired recently. Because I love him as a character. I think he's a really good addition to the team because the Justice Chojin's lineup is very well balanced in the sense of they have a lot of experienced people. They have a kind of a middle people. And then you have less than experienced people, right? There's a lot of diversity that comes with that. And I just really appreciate that part. The fact that the guy went from going after Ramen Man as his, you are my enemy, I need to kill you, you killed my dad, energy to respects the life out of him. Says something about their dynamic as a whole because that rivalry turned into very beneficial student-teacher relationship that is important to the both of them. Because Ramen Man was in the spot he was at. He started off as a brutal chojin. He only wanted to get stronger and didn't care who was in his way because he was going to take them out. And then he looked at Brocken Jr., saw what was happening with him, and was like, whoa, man, you don't gotta be like that. Trust me, I know, I've been you. And for them to have that growth as a pair is so important. For him to help acknowledge that revenge is just this endless cycle, it's just so important. And then to further emphasize Brocken's potential by having Ataru just look at him and say, hey, I want you on my team. I think you have so much potential to see that. And to help him flourish as a wrestler is just, it's beautiful. And Brocken shows that through the loyalty that he presents to these people. He is a very loyal person at the end of the day and will stand by those he trusts and believes in. And that's just really honest. It's just genuine. And now we're going to talk about the controversy. Because unfortunately, as great as Brocken Jr. is, boy oh boy, does his design have a bit of controversial history. So right now, I'm going to put in the timestamp of when I'm going to be over talking about this. So if you don't want to listen to it, you don't have to. Okay? So let's get into the unsavory aspect of Brocken Jr.'s design. As I talked about, there's some controversy. Unfortunately, Brocken is the poster boy, in my opinion, when it comes to controversial designs, because he's the one who has a lot of things about his design that some people weren't happy about. And if you can guess it, because he's a German chojin, and this was made back in the 80s, you know how things could be sometimes. And it feels a little bad because he was designed in the spirit of, we want to make a good, and I can see what they're trying to do, but France had it best when they decided just to ban the entire manga series when they found the concept of trying to make a good, a little too complex and pretty problematic, which good for them, honestly. I don't blame them at all for doing that. Heck, America didn't even have him in the toy lines, and Nintendo's tie-in game decided to replace him with a different character even. So needless to say, being a Brocken fan back then was not really great. It wasn't really easy. Which is rough because at this point, from my standing, he's a fan favorite. I have plenty of people I've talked to who enjoy him as a character. And honestly, it is a pro that his design, his outfit, his attire was never really his personality. Like, that was never the forefront. Like, it never really even came up, honestly, which is kind of nice. Sometimes here or there in the old anime, there'd be comments from him, but beyond that, there was not much about it. So you can kind of gracefully tiptoe over it almost at times if you didn't stare too deeply at his design at times, because we're not going to talk about the things you can find when you simply type in his name into Google and you're like, oh, what are you doing there, anime? What's that shirt he's got on? Oh, that's not so great, huh? But needless to say, this modern day and age, his design has been changed appropriately. In most iterations lately, it's been this green, just military-esque outfit, which is pretty good. And in the anime, it's more like a deep grayish blue outfit that for some reason decided, what if we just have it open in the top? And for some reason almost comes off a little bit of a cop stripper, I want to say. No offense to him. But I've seen the internet's comments about it, so I can't help but acknowledge it at least a little bit. But needless to say, the author and creator and designers of the manga they knew when to change it. They understood that there is a change in the way of how people see things in terms of like cultural controversy, and sensitivity needs to be. So you have to acknowledge the fact that they will alter some things as time goes on for things that need to be changed. So yeah. Anyway, now that we have acknowledged the past design choices, we could talk about the last 2 episodes of the new season, because I want to talk about them briefly. Yes, plot twist. This isn't just me talking about him as a character, we're talking about the drawing I'm doing of him. And this comes primarily because I need to address how freaking funny the opening scene of him carrying Kinnikuinu to the next location and how upset and like baby whining he is about it, because he's like, I want Robin or Ramen Man to carry me, I don't want you to carry me. And then he ends up falling in a lake because he can't just not move around when Brocken's carrying him, and Brocken's all pissed afterwards. And it's so nicely timed because they already did like Robin and everyone else coming in, they did the announcer being all serious, so they waited a minute before they had these two show up, and Kinnikuinu just being a wet, sad puppy about him being dropped in a lake. On a side note, the new opening, it's kind of a pop. I wasn't super into it at first, but after listening to it 20 times in Spotify, they kind of got me. But yes, I love their little race to the doors for the pyramids. I think it's adorable. I'm a big fan of mundane little moments. Character interactions are just really nice. Seeing him and Buffalo Man be competitive with each other to get there first. It's just nice. And you get to see Brocken's character in it too, because him not getting there first and just standing there mad about it, banging on a door when there's 6 other entrances he could be going through, is kind of just indicative of his impulsiveness, that quick-temperedness. But at the same time, we do get to see his growth as well, because at the start of his match, he was smart enough to send his automated cap forward to provoke the enemy without actually putting himself in danger, unlike a lot of the other wrestlers jumping into their matches end up getting ambushed. So you are seeing a bit of growth in his thought process when it comes to a match and how he's going to approach it. And they even acknowledge saying he's going into this very calmly. He's thinking about his movements. He's keeping his distance. He's just throwing out jabs at Crushman, keeping his distance away from his ability to literally crush him. Also being acknowledged that there are some pretty smooth minor key animation frames in this episode particularly. Like, they're just so smooth and crisp and nice, and I just like that because I'll be honest, there were parts of season 1 where the budget kind of died off, which is really embarrassing when one of those moments is the main character's fight. But it's fine. Anyway, so one thing I want to point out, like, I just talked about all these things, and if nothing else, these 2 episodes really show you the dynamic between Justice Chojin, which we really didn't get as much in the first season, because now they're all kind of here and are the main focus of the season, which is really great, because we get to see Brocken and Ramen Man's dynamic specifically in their matches, because they're literally a tier above and beyond each other, and they do interact with each other. There's a moment where Ramen Man literally slams the pyramid to get Brocken to focus. They interact with each other and they encourage each other during their matches because their bond is that important to each other. And I like that even though Brocken starts off the match in a very like calm-headed levelness, like he's trying to approach it differently, there's an acknowledgement later in the match when he starts losing, when he gets impulsive, he gets abrasive, and instead of scolding him, Ramen Man is encouraging him to be his own person, to be his own wrestler, which is something Brocken does need to hear because he is not as experienced as Ramen Man and the others are. That encouragement is pivotal to him deciding who he's going to be in the ring. And I love that Ramen Man even acknowledges with Brocken that he's like, yeah, I was a bad person. I killed your dad. I understand that's who I was. But instead of just forgetting that, I'm using that to grow as a person. Highlighting the idea that experiences make you who you are. It makes you as an individual. And that's something to take in value with the series is the relationships, the bonds, the experiences. They are all integral to who these characters are, and they don't just forget that. There isn't just a soft reset that they're like, oh, it's okay, blah, blah, blah. No, that they acknowledge their failures. They acknowledge their hardships. They acknowledge where they were wrong. And that's not something you always see with series, and that's kind of part of the heart of what makes a series so interesting and so good to me and so many other people. There's a depth and history to the series, and the characters embody those things. And I want to acknowledge the fact that it's never just one character's relationship with another. It is typically multifaceted, especially among Justice Chojin, because there's a moment in the match when Brocken is getting back into the fight after Ramen Man's encouragement that Crushman makes a comment about another Chojin that he had beaten and insults him, which is meant to provoke Brocken, and instead of just reacting with his words, Brocken goes at him and uses one of that said Chojin's moves against him effectively, as if to imply that you don't get to insult my team without there being repercussions for doing so. Shortly after, it results in him winning the match against Crushman, which is the first victory for the Justice Chojin in this new match setup. And it's also where I'm ending this video because we're at the end. I hope you enjoyed my ramblings about Brocken and Kinnikuman because I have more planned for this. Ideally, I would love to sit here and talk about each of the Chojins as their matches go through the new season to both just talk about what's going on in the show, but also to acknowledge who they are. Because I've read and seen a lot of these guys and I'm happy to talk about them. And I'm also happy to talk to you guys about them. So please leave comments about it. I love to hear your thoughts on these characters. Heck, I just want to hear who you like and who you don't like even. I'll take it all. But also if you are interested, obviously Brocken and all the other Justice Chojins are currently stickers on my Etsy store. If you are interested, I have both the new design colors and the retro design colors. So if you're interested, please come support me and them by getting some adorable little chibis of them. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Next time, hopefully we'll hear about Ramen Man, because clearly if you watched the episode, we all know whose fight's next. But for now, I will see you next time. I hope you have a great day. Bye!